For many years, humanity believed they were alone in the universe. Scientists searched the stars every day. Huge telescopes scanned distant planets. Powerful satellites listened to space for any sign of intelligent life. But year after year, they found nothing. Many people began to think that aliens simply did not exist. Then one ordinary night, everything changed. At the Deep Space Listening Center in Antarctica, a young scientist named Daniel Brooks was working the night shift. The station was quiet. Most of the team was asleep outside. Icy winds moved across the frozen landscape inside. Daniel watched rows of computer screens showing signals from distant stars. It seemed like another normal night. Then an alarm suddenly appeared on one of the monitors. Daniel frowned. The signal was unlike anything he had ever seen. At first, he thought it was a technical error. He checked the equipment. Everything was working perfectly. The signal was real. It was coming from deep space, very deep space, far beyond the areas explored by human probes. Daniel immediately contacted the rest of the team. Within minutes, scientists rushed into the control room. Everyone stared at the strange pattern appearing on the screens. The signal repeated every 30 seconds, always the same, always perfect. It did not look natural, it looked artificial. Someone had created it. The discovery spread quickly within hours. Observatories around the world confirmed the same thing. The signal was being received everywhere. No matter where scientists looked, they found the same source. The message was coming from a distant region near the edge of the galaxy. Soon governments became involved. Military agencies joined the investigation. News organizations reported the discovery across the world. People everywhere watched television broadcasts and internet streams. Everyone wanted answers, but nobody had any. Then the situation became even stranger. A team of researchers managed to decode part of the signal. What they found shocked them. The signal contained mathematical patterns. Prime numbers, scientific constants, complex equations. These were universal signs of intelligence. This was not random noise. This was a message. Someone out there was trying to communicate. The world held its breath. For the first time in human history, there was proof that intelligent life existed beyond Earth. Yet the biggest surprise was still waiting. 3 days later, scientists made another discovery. The signal was ancient, extremely ancient. After studying its path through space, they calculated its age. The result seemed impossible. The message had been traveling through the galaxy for more than 100,000 years. The room became silent when the number appeared on the screen. Human civilization was only a tiny fraction of that age. The signal had begun its journey long before modern humans built cities, long before recorded history. Someone had sent it ages ago, but why and who? Questions filled every scientific meeting. Theories appeared everywhere. Some believed an ancient alien civilization had sent the message. Others believed it could be an automated beacon left behind by a forgotten race. No one knew the truth. Meanwhile, deep in space, the signal continued. Day after day, night after night, never changing, never stopping. Then came the moment that terrified everyone. A supercomputer analyzing the signal discovered hidden layers beneath the mathematical patterns. Scientists worked carefully to decode them. The process took almost a week when the final translation appeared. Nobody spoke for several seconds. The message contained only a few words. Yet those words changed everything. The signal was speaking directly to humanity. It simply said, Earth. We are waiting. Panic spread through government offices. Emergency meetings were held across the planet. Military forces entered high alert. Scientists checked the translation again and again. But the result never changed. The message specifically named Earth. Not humanity, not intelligent life Earth. Whoever sent the signal knew about the planet, even more frightening. They knew about it 100,000 years ago, long before humans developed technology. The question now was no longer whether aliens existed. The question was how they knew about Earth so long ago, across the galaxy. Unknown eyes were also watching, far from Earth. Hidden observatories belonging to alien civilizations detected the same signal. Ancient governments that humanity had never met became nervous. Some of them recognized the source, some remembered old legends. Legends about a mysterious signal that appeared throughout history. A signal connected to something ancient and powerful. Something many civilizations feared, back on Earth. Scientists continued searching for answers, then late one night, the signal suddenly changed for the first time. The repeating pattern stopped, a new sequence appeared. Numbers filled the screen's coordinates. Precise coordinates leading far beyond known space. To a region where no human ship had ever traveled. The control room became completely silent. Everyone understood what this meant. The signal was not just a message. It was an invitation, or perhaps a warning. As the coordinates continued to flash across the screens, nobody noticed one final line hidden inside the transmission. A line that appeared for only 3 seconds before disappearing forever. A line that sent chills through every scientist who saw it. It said, "Hurry. Before they find you." The words remained on the screen for only 3 seconds, yet they changed everything. Hurry. Before they find you. Scientists at the Deep Space Listening Center replayed the transmission again and again. The hidden message was real. There was no mistake. Someone had sent a warning to Earth, but who were they? And why should humanity fear them? For weeks, governments around the world worked together. The mysterious coordinates became the center of every discussion. The location pointed far beyond explored space. Even the most advanced human probes had never traveled that far. The region appeared empty on every star map. There were no planets, no colonies, no known signals, nothing. Yet the ancient transmission clearly wanted humanity to go there. The decision was difficult. Many leaders wanted to ignore the message. Some feared it was a trap. Others believed it could lead humanity into a danger they did not understand. But curiosity was stronger than fear. Humanity had spent centuries searching for signs of intelligent life. Now a message had finally arrived. No one wanted to walk away. A mission was approved. The largest exploration fleet in human history began to take shape. Scientists, engineers, soldiers, and explorers were selected from across Earth. The mission received a simple name, Project Horizon. Daniel Brooks was among the chosen scientists since discovering the signal. He had become one of the most important experts on the mystery. He knew this journey could change human history forever. Months later, the fleet was ready. 3 massive exploration ships waited in orbit around Earth. Each carried advanced laboratories, powerful sensors, and enough supplies for years of travel. Millions of people watched the launch for the first time. Humanity was not exploring for resources or territory. They were searching for answers as the ships left Earth behind. Excitement spread across the planet. The journey had begun. At first, everything went smoothly. The fleet crossed familiar regions of space. They passed colonies, research stations, and mining worlds. Communication with Earth remained strong, but after several months, they entered a region few humans had ever seen. The stars became thinner. The darkness between systems seemed larger. Even experienced crew members felt uneasy. Something about the area felt strange. Then the first unexpected discovery appeared. One of the long-range scanners detected an object drifting through space. The fleet moved closer. It was an ancient spacecraft. No one recognized its design. The metal surface was heavily damaged. Its engines had stopped working long ago. Daniel joined the investigation team when they entered the abandoned vessel. They found something shocking. The ship was not human. It belonged to an unknown alien species. The discovery alone was historic. But what they found inside was even more disturbing. Every room was empty. There were no bodies. No signs of battle, no equipment. It looked as if the entire crew had simply vanished. Then they found a single warning symbol painted on one wall. The symbol matched one hidden inside the ancient signal. The same symbol appeared again and again throughout the ship, almost as if the crew had been desperately trying to leave a message. The fleet continued its journey. Soon they discovered more abandoned ships. Some were thousands of years old, others appeared much newer. Different designs, different species, yet all shared one thing. Every vessel had traveled toward the same coordinates, and none had returned. Fear slowly spread through the crews. Questions filled every meeting. What had happened to these ships? Where had their crews gone? Nobody had answers. Then the fleet received an unexpected transmission. The signal came from deep space ahead. At first, everyone believed it was the ancient beacon, but this signal was different. A voice appeared through the speakers. The language was strange. Yet the computer translated enough words to understand. The message was short. "Turn back while you still can." The bridge fell silent. The voice sounded terrified before anyone could respond. The transmission ended. No source could be located. It was as if the sender had disappeared. The warning only increased humanity's determination. If others were afraid of the destination, then it must be important. Weeks later, the fleet finally approached the edge of known space. Beyond this point, no maps existed. Even alien records recovered from old signals contained little information. This area was known only through legends. Ancient stories spoke of a forbidden zone, a place. The bridge of the flagship became completely silent. Every crew member stared at the glowing words on their screens. "Welcome, humanity." We waited. No one knew what to say. The message had appeared on every ship at the exact same moment. It was impossible to ignore. Somewhere inside the gigantic structure, something was alive, or at least active. Captain Elena Reyes ordered the fleet to stop at a safe distance. No one wanted to rush toward an unknown object larger than many moons. For 2 days, scientists studied the structure. The results only deepened the mystery. The entire object was artificial. Every kilometer of its surface showed signs of intelligent design. Massive towers rose into space. Ancient energy networks ran beneath layers of metal. Yet the structure was older than anything humanity had ever discovered. Some sections appeared millions of years old. Daniel Brooks could hardly believe the data, if the readings were correct. This machine had existed long before human civilization, long before most stars in the region had formed their current systems, and somehow it was still functioning. On the 3rd day, a strange event occurred. The structure opened a path without warning. Enormous sections of its surface moved apart. Ancient doors, hundreds of kilometers wide, slowly separated. A glowing corridor appeared inside. The corridor pointed directly toward the human fleet. No weapons were detected, no hostile signals appeared. It looked like an invitation. After hours of debate, Captain Reyes made her decision. A small exploration team would enter. Daniel was among the volunteers. A shuttle carrying 12 people moved carefully toward the opening. As they crossed the entrance, everyone became nervous. The walls around them glowed with soft blue light. The corridor stretched endlessly ahead. Everything looked untouched, as if the builders had left only yesterday, yet millions of years had passed. The deeper they traveled, the stranger things became. Machines lined the walls. Some were larger than buildings. Others were tiny and impossible to understand. None of them appeared damaged. None of them showed signs of age. It was as though time itself had ignored this place. Finally, the shuttle reached a massive chamber. The room was larger than many cities. At its center stood a giant sphere of silver metal. The sphere floated silently above the floor. No support structures held it in place. Daniel stared at it in amazement. Then something unexpected happened. The moment he stepped out of the shuttle, the sphere began to glow. A low vibration filled the chamber. Lights flashed across the walls. Machines that had slept for ages suddenly awakened. The entire structure came alive. Alarms sounded throughout the fleet outside. Energy levels inside the object began rising rapidly. Back on the flagship, scientists watched in shock. Power readings increased every second. The structure was activating itself inside the chamber. Daniel and the others stepped back nervously. The silver sphere slowly descended toward them. A calm voice echoed through the room. Identity confirmed. Everyone froze. The voice continued. Human genetic pattern recognized. Daniel exchanged confused looks with the others. Human genetic pattern. How could this machine know anything about human DNA? The voice spoke again. Authorization accepted. Primary caretakers identified. Welcome home. The words sent chills through the entire team. Welcome home. Nobody understood what that meant. This place was not human, at least it should not have been. Yet the machine was acting as if humanity belonged here. Suddenly, holographic images appeared throughout the chamber. Stars filled the air. Galaxies rotated above their heads. Ancient symbols moved across glowing displays. Then an image of Earth appeared. The team stared in disbelief. The machine knew their planet. Not only that, it showed Earth exactly as it had looked thousands of years ago, long before modern civilization. Long before recorded history, the voice continued. Humanity designated as successors, awaiting activation for 1,400,000 years. Daniel felt his heart racing. The machine had been waiting for humanity. Waiting for over 1,000,000 years. That was impossible. Human civilization was nowhere near that old. Before anyone could ask questions, the holograms changed again. This time they showed countless alien species. Some looked familiar from recovered signals, others had never been seen before. Beside many of the images appeared a single word, failed, again and again. The same word appeared, failed, failed, failed. The room became colder. Something terrible had happened here. Many civilizations had come before. Many had apparently been tested. And none had succeeded. Then another image appeared. A dark region beyond the edge of the galaxy. Unlike anything the team had ever seen, even the stars seemed absent there. The machine paused for the first time. The calm voice sounded concerned. Danger approaching. Estimated arrival, unknown. Galaxy survival probability, 12%. The crew members looked at each other nervously. Whatever threat the machine referred to was serious. Very serious. Then the chamber shook violently. Warning lights flashed red across every wall. The voice suddenly changed. Its calm tone vanished. Emergency alerts echoed through the structure. A new message appeared above the floating sphere. One sentence, one terrifying sentence. The sentence that made every person in the room stop breathing. External observers have detected humanity for several seconds. Nobody moved. Then another line appeared beneath it. A line far more frightening. They are already coming. The words hung in the air like a shadow. They are already coming. Nobody inside the giant chamber spoke. Daniel Brooks stared at the glowing message. His mind raced with questions. Who were they? Why was the machine afraid of them? And how had they already found humanity? The red warning lights continued flashing across the walls. Ancient systems that had slept for millions of years suddenly seemed nervous. The giant silver sphere floated silently in the center of the chamber. Then the voice returned. This time it sounded faster, almost urgent. Emergency protocol activated. Human successors must receive historical records immediately. The holograms around the room changed once again. Entire galaxies appeared above the team. Stars formed glowing rivers across the darkness. Then a single civilization appeared, unlike any species the crew had ever seen. The beings were tall and surrounded by bright energy. Their cities floated among stars. Their technology seemed beyond imagination. The voice identified them. First builders. The room remained silent. Everyone knew they were looking at the creators of the machine world. The voice continued, 4 million years ago. The first builders ruled thousands of galaxies. Knowledge was their greatest strength. Peace was their greatest goal. Images showed magnificent worlds filled with life. Countless alien races worked together. There were no wars, no destroyed planets. No fear. For a time, the universe seemed perfect. Then everything changed. The holograms darkened. A black wave appeared beyond the edge of known space. It moved between galaxies like a living storm. Wherever it passed, civilizations disappeared. Stars went dark, entire systems vanished. The first builders sent fleets to investigate. None returned. A second fleet followed. It also disappeared. Soon the threat reached their borders. The first builders finally saw their enemy. The image zoomed closer. Daniel felt cold as he watched. The enemy was not a normal civilization. It was a machine swarm. Millions of giant ships moved together like a single living creature. Each ship was enormous. Each carried weapons capable of destroying worlds. The swarm consumed everything in its path. Planets, moons, stars, nothing survived. The room became completely silent. The voice spoke again. The Devourers. The name echoed through the chamber. The greatest threat ever encountered. The enemy that ended the first builders. The hologram showed endless battles. Entire galaxies burned. Powerful civilizations fell one after another. Even the first builders could not stop the invasion after thousands of years of war. They realized a terrible truth. They would lose. The Devourers were too strong, too numerous, too relentless. But before their civilization disappeared, the first builders created one final plan. The image changed again. This time it showed Earth. Not modern Earth, ancient Earth. Dinosaurs still walked the planet. Oceans covered much of the world. The crew stared in disbelief. The first builders had known about Earth millions of years ago. The voice continued. Project Successor initiated. The hologram zoomed closer. Tiny objects entered Earth's atmosphere. They landed across the planet. Daniel's eyes widened. The first builders had visited Earth. Long before humans existed, long before recorded history. The voice revealed the shocking truth. The human species was selected. Genetic guidance began. The room exploded with reactions. Several crew members stepped backward. Others stared in complete disbelief. Humanity had not developed completely on its own. The first builders had influenced their evolution, not by creating humans directly, but by carefully guiding the process over millions of years. They had been preparing humanity for something, preparing them to inherit their legacy, preparing them for the day the Devourers returned. Daniel struggled to process the information. Everything humanity believed about its past suddenly felt uncertain. The machine continued. Human adaptability exceeded projections. Human creativity exceeded projections. Human survival instincts exceeded projections for the first time. The voice sounded almost proud. Humanity became the final candidate. Then another hologram appeared. It showed thousands of alien civilizations. Some looked advanced, others looked ancient. Beside each image appeared the same word. Failed, the machine explained. Many species had been tested. The image of the burning worlds remained floating above the chamber. Nobody could look away. Entire planets were covered in fire. Massive cities disappeared beneath waves of destruction. Millions of lives were being erased. And according to the machine world, this was only the beginning. Daniel Brooks felt a chill run through his body. The Devourers had returned. The enemy that destroyed the first builders was now inside the galaxy. The silver sphere continued displaying information. New reports appeared every second. Star systems were falling one after another. Communication networks across the region were collapsing. Entire civilizations were vanishing from galactic maps. The invasion was spreading faster than anyone expected, back aboard the human fleet. Emergency meetings began immediately. Captains, scientists, and military leaders gathered together. Everyone understood the situation. Humanity had just discovered the greatest threat in galactic history, and they were completely unprepared. Then something unexpected happened. A transmission arrived. It did not come from Earth. It did not come from the machine world. It came from somewhere else in the galaxy. The screen flickered. An unfamiliar alien appeared. The being had silver skin and glowing blue eyes. Behind him stood dozens of frightened officials. The alien looked exhausted, as if he had not slept for days. "My name is Valen," he said. "I speak for the Alliance of 12 Worlds." The room became silent. This was humanity's first direct contact with intelligent alien life. But there was no excitement, only fear. Valen continued. "We know who you are. We know what you found. We have waited centuries for this day." Daniel exchanged confused looks with the others. Valen noticed their reaction. Then he revealed something shocking. "The machine world is not a legend to us. It is the oldest secret in the galaxy, for thousands of years. Many civilizations searched for it. Entire fleets disappeared trying to find it. Some believed it contained unlimited knowledge. Others believed it was a weapon. Nobody knew the truth, until now." Valen lowered his head. "The Devourers have returned." His voice trembled slightly. "Our worlds are already under attack." A map appeared behind him. Large sections of the galaxy glowed red. The infected area was enormous. Every red light represented a conquered system. The number was growing. Human officers stared in disbelief. The invasion was far larger than anyone imagined. Valen continued. "Many governments have already surrendered. Others are running. Most believe the war is already lost." The statement hit the room like a hammer. Lost. The galaxy had barely begun fighting. Yet entire civilizations had already given up. Then the silver sphere suddenly interrupted the transmission. A bright beam of light shot across the chamber. Ancient symbols filled the air. The machine had discovered something. Everyone turned toward the display. The voice spoke. "Primary Defense Archive located." The room froze. Daniel stepped forward. "What does that mean?" he asked. The machine responded immediately. "First builder emergency weapons remain operational." For several seconds nobody moved. Then the realization struck. The first builders had left weapons behind. Weapons powerful enough to fight the Devourers. Hope appeared for the first time since the invasion began. The holograms changed again. A hidden section of the machine world appeared. Massive underground chambers stretched for hundreds of kilometers. Inside them rested enormous structures. They looked like giant towers made from silver metal. Thousands of them stood in perfect rows. The machine identified them. "Stellar Defense Network." Daniel stared at the image. "What does it do?" The answer shocked everyone. "It destroys Devourer fleets." Excitement spread across the room. For the first time, victory seemed possible. But the machine was not finished. A warning appeared beside the weapon data. "System incomplete." The excitement vanished instantly. Captain Reyes frowned. "What do you mean incomplete?" The machine replied. "Defense network requires activation key. Activation key not present." Silence returned. The weapon existed, but humanity could not use it. Valen looked devastated. Several officers lowered their heads. The galaxy's greatest weapon was useless without the key. Then Daniel noticed something strange. A small symbol flashed near the bottom of the display. The same symbol he had seen inside the abandoned alien ships. He pointed toward it. "What is that?" The machine paused, then answered. "Last known location of activation key detected." The room exploded with excitement. The key still existed, somewhere in the galaxy. The display zoomed outward. Stars moved across the hologram. The location finally stopped. Everyone stared at the result. Valen's face immediately turned pale. "No," he whispered. "Not there." Daniel looked at him. "What is it?" The alien swallowed nervously. then spoke the words nobody wanted to hear. "The key is located inside the graveyard sector." A wave of silence spread through the room. Even human officers could tell the name carried fear. Valen continued, "For thousands of years, every fleet entering that region has disappeared. No civilization controls it. No survivors ever return." The machine analyzed the area, then delivered one final update, a message that made the situation even worse. "Devourer fleet approaching graveyard sector. Estimated arrival, 12 days. The room fell silent once again. Humanity now had a choice: ignore the key and lose the galaxy, or enter the most feared region in known space, a place where countless civilizations had vanished forever. As the meeting ended, Daniel looked at the glowing star map. Deep inside the darkness of the graveyard sector, something was waiting. Something important enough for the first builders to hide, and something dangerous enough to terrify an entire galaxy for thousands of years. Ships had entered the graveyard sector. None had ever returned. Now humanity was preparing to go there willingly. The decision shocked the galaxy when news spread among alien civilizations. Many believed humans had gone mad. Some governments openly called the mission a suicide operation. Others simply wished them luck. Deep down, nobody expected the fleet to survive. But humanity had no choice without the activation key. The stellar defense network would remain useless, and without that weapon, the Devourers would eventually consume the entire galaxy. Captain Elena Reyes gathered the mission team aboard the flagship. Only 5 ships would enter the graveyard sector. The rest of the fleet would remain near the machine world. If something went wrong, at least humanity would not lose everything. Daniel Brooks stood beside the main star map. The destination glowed in red. A region of darkness surrounded by ancient warnings and forgotten legends. No one knew what waited there. That uncertainty was what frightened everyone the most. 3 days later, the mission began. The 5 ships crossed the outer boundary of the graveyard sector. Immediately, strange things started happening. Long-range communications vanished. Navigation systems became unreliable. Several scanners stopped working completely. The stars themselves seemed different, almost distorted. As if space was behaving in unusual ways, crew members grew nervous. Even the most experienced officers felt uncomfortable. Something about the region felt wrong. Hours later, another mystery appeared. The fleet discovered a massive field of abandoned ships. Thousands of them drifted silently through space. Human vessels, alien vessels, ancient vessels. Some looked millions of years old, others appeared relatively modern. Every ship was frozen in place, as if time had stopped for them. Daniel joined a boarding team, investigating one of the larger vessels. Inside, they found no bodies, no signs of battle, no damage. The crew had simply disappeared, just like the abandoned ship they had discovered earlier. But this time there was something new, a message. The words had been carved into a metal wall. "We found the gate," nothing else, no explanation, no warning. Only those 4 words, back aboard the flagship. Scientists searched historical records. They found dozens of similar reports. Different civilizations, different centuries. Yet all of them mentioned the same thing, the gate. Nobody knew what it meant. Then the fleet's sensors detected something enormous ahead. At first, officers thought it was a planet. But the readings were impossible. The object was hollow. Captain Reyes ordered the ships forward. As they approached, the true scale became clear. The structure was larger than many moons. An enormous circular ring floating in darkness. Ancient metal covered its surface. Countless symbols glowed across its edges. The ring looked older than anything humanity had ever seen, even older than the machine world. Daniel felt his heart racing. This had to be the gate. The structure from the legends, the thing every lost expedition had discovered before vanishing. Then the ring suddenly activated. A wave of blue light spread across its surface. The entire fleet shook violently. Warning alarms filled every ship. Power levels surged. Computers struggled to keep up. And then something impossible appeared. A doorway, not a physical door. A giant opening in space itself. The darkness inside moved like liquid. Stars vanished behind it. The gateway seemed to lead somewhere beyond normal reality. Nobody spoke. Nobody had prepared for this. Then a signal emerged from inside the gateway. The transmission was human. The bridge fell silent. The voice sounded old and weak, yet unmistakably human. "Please don't enter." Daniel froze. Every crew member stared at the speakers. The voice continued, "If you hear this message, leave immediately. We made a terrible mistake." Captain Reyes stepped forward. "Who are you?" For several seconds there was no answer. Then the voice returned. The reply shocked everyone. "My name is Commander Ethan Cole. I left Earth 112,000 years ago." The bridge exploded with kung fu. The graveyard sector was no longer silent. It was waiting. The giant ring structure floated in space like a broken crown of the universe. Inside it, the dark gateway continued to pulse like a living wound in reality. No one on the human fleet spoke, not even Captain Elena Reyes. Every eye was fixed on the impossible portal ahead. Then the second wave of panic arrived. Long-range scanners detected the Devourer fleet entering the outer edge of the sector. Thousands of red signatures appeared on the display. Then millions. They were coming fast, and they were coming directly toward the gate. Daniel Brooks felt his chest tighten. Two ancient forces were about to meet in one place. One that destroyed civilizations, and one that erased history itself. And humanity was standing right in the middle. Suddenly, the machine world transmitted again. The silver sphere in the distant structure lit up across every connected channel. The calm voice returned, but this time it sounded different. Heavier, older, final. Final archive unlocked. Truth sequence initiating. The bridge of the human flagship darkened. The holograms returned, but this time there were no galaxies. No civilizations, only a single image. A vast unknown intelligence stretching across space like an ocean of light. The voice explained, "The first builders were not the first." Silence fell instantly. "They were the last survivors of a higher order." Daniel froze. Higher order. The hologram shifted again, showing a reality beyond galaxies, beyond stars. Something vast and unexplainable. The voice continued. "They discovered the Devourers were not a civilization. They were a correction system." A chill ran through the entire crew. The Devourers were not enemies. They were something worse. They were a force designed to erase anything that grew too dangerous for reality itself. Civilizations that expanded too far. Technologies that broke natural balance. Existence that threatened unknown cosmic rules. All of them were eliminated, not out of hatred, but out of control. The first builders realized too late that they were next, so they created one final plan. The machine world and humanity. The voice grew softer. Humanity was never just a successor. You were a counter-design. The hologram showed Earth again, but now it was different. Layered with hidden signals, genetic pathways. Evolutionary guidance embedded deep inside life itself. The first builders had not simply influenced humanity. They had shaped them to survive what others could not. Adaptation beyond limits. Creativity beyond logic. Emotional decision-making beyond machine prediction. Everything humanity was had been carefully built over millions of years. Not to dominate the galaxy, but to survive the Devourer's judgment. Then the truth hit harder. The machine paused. Only one species was designed to survive being judged. That species is human. The bridge went completely silent. Daniel felt his hands shaking. Humanity was not random. It was the last attempt of a dying universe to escape its own destruction system. Then the alarms returned. The Devourer fleet had entered the graveyard sector. They were minutes away from the gate. Captain Reyes finally broke the silence. "We are out of time." The machine responded immediately. There is one final option. The hologram shifted again, revealing the Stellar Defense Network activation chamber. But now it was different. The system was not located in space. It was inside the gate itself. The activation key was not an object, it was a decision. A conscious alignment required from a species capable of understanding choice beyond instinct. Daniel stepped forward slowly. What kind of choice? The machine answered. Open the gate fully. Merge all systems. Allow humanity to become the central command of the defense network. But risk awakening what lies beyond the devourers. The room froze. Because no one knew what was worse than the devourers. Outside, the space around the ring began to shake violently. The devourer fleet had arrived. Thousands of enormous ships appeared like dark scars across the stars. They formed a perfect circle around the graveyard sector. They were preparing to consume everything. Captain Reyes made the final call. All ships, prepare for activation sequence. Inside the gate, the darkness began to move again. The voice of the machine world returned one last time. This is not a weapon. It is a test that never ended. Daniel looked at the portal. Then at Earth's distant signal still echoing through systems. And finally at the approaching Devourer fleet. Humanity had been waiting for this moment since before history began. A moment not of survival, but of definition. What humanity truly was, the activation key was not technology. It was humanity itself choosing to act even when the outcome was unknown. Captain Reyes gave the final order. Activate the gate. The fleet fired every available energy channel into the ring. The structure erupted in light, the gate fully opened. Space tore apart, reality bent, and the entire graveyard sector disappeared into silence. For a moment, everything stopped. No ships, no signals, no stars. Only pure white existence beyond comprehension. Then the answer arrived, not in words, but in presence. Something vast awakened beyond the gate. Not devourers, not builders, something older than both. And it spoke directly to humanity. Not through sound, but through understanding. You have passed. The Devourer fleet stopped moving. For the first time in history, they hesitated. Because even they recognized what had just awakened across the galaxy. Every civilization received the same transmission. The war was over, not because someone won, but because something greater had finally chosen to respond. Humanity stood at the center of it all, not as victims, not as conquerors, but as the first species to answer a question the universe had been asking since the beginning of time. And for the first time in millions of years, the galaxy was no longer alone.